Hey, thank you all for being here. Listen, for 20 years before I got to Congress, I litigated constitutional law cases in federal courts around the country. I had some difficult cases on occasion. This is a really easy one. I brought along a little visual aid here for our Democrat colleagues. I want them to take a look at the manual that each of us get each Congress. It even has our name on the front here. And it has all the rules and all the procedural goings on of the House incorporated here and published, but it is preceded by the United States Constitution. I know many of them don't carry one around in their lapel pocket like we do, but they do have a book. And I would just refer them to the actual language of the Constitution. It's been said this lawsuit and this effort is about politics. This is about the Constitution itself. Let me read you 3 excerpts. You just have to look at Article 1, the first article of the Constitution, and look at Section 4. It says, the Congress shall assemble at least once in every year, and such meeting shall be on the first Monday in December. Now we know that one, that provision was superseded by the 20th Amendment in 1933, but they echoed and adopted that same language. You flip over to Article 1, Section 5. It says a majority of each house shall constitute a quorum to do business, and a smaller number may adjourn from day to day and may be authorized to compel the attendance of absent members in such manner and under such penalties as each house may provide. Flip over to the next section, Article 1, Section 6. It says the senators and representatives of each house shall be privileged from arrest during their attendance at the session of their respective houses. Now, this is the 1780s, of course, when the Constitution was drafted and ratified. But 100 years later, the Supreme Court looked at that very specific question. We cite this in our lawsuit. It's U.S. v. Ballin, 1892. The Supreme Court said the Constitution requires, quote, the presence of a majority. And when that majority is present, the power of the House arrives. Look, this is really simple for folks back home. We have the greatest, most powerful, most free nation in the history of the world. We celebrate that on Memorial Day, as we all did this last weekend. Those who have given their lives to preserve that, to preserve this Constitution. But at only 243 years into this, we have to remember we're still a very young country. We're still a grand experiment in the ideas of liberty and self-governance. Our Constitution, that is based upon the idea that we have a government of, by, and for the people, is based on very particular foundations and presuppositions. And one of those is really important, that the members who are elected, the representatives who are elected to represent all the people throughout the country, will come together physically and arm wrestle over public policy. You'll have very different ideas, very different principles, philosophies represented. That's kind of the point. But the idea is that we would all get together and work together to find consensus, to move the ball forward for the most people. That's the premise of our Constitution. That's the premise of our republic. You can't have a republic operate any other way. We don't have a king who's a sovereign. The people are the sovereign, of, by, and for the people. And that's what meeting together and assembling and having a physical presence is all about. You can't do that by video, and you certainly can't do it by proxy. So that's what this is about. I'll tell you, I represent myself in this lawsuit. All of us are signed on as plaintiffs, and we also have constituents. And I talked to my constituent who signed on as a plaintiff last night, Lorene Spratt. She is deeply upset about this. She's a patriot. She votes in every election, and she is afraid that our votes are being watered down and that the Constitution is being violated, and she has a right to be heard. I think this goes to the Supreme Court pretty quickly, and I think the answer is pretty simple. It's right here in the book that we refer our colleagues to.